here a
You
lot.
grew up here?
Yeah, and I guess it's an awesome place because all the girls that we work with, all the models that we work with, everyone's like family, and we all kind of just get to know each other really personally, I think. And it's a lot different than like modeling for anybody else, really, in that sense.
Describe that different for me, if you could.
Yeah, it's being here, like just looking around everything. It's like every type of woman is appreciated. You don't have to be like super small or super skinny or anything like that. It's everybody is their own person, and everyone has their own shape, and everyone is like seen as beautiful, and everyone is uplifted. And I think that a lot of the models that work here, there's no competition really with each other. We all treat each other like family, and the way that like e-commerce, like shooting for that kind of thing, the way that it circulates, like we all know if we're not here for like a month that we're going to come back around, and so it's a very welcoming place to work, and it's positive and like makes you feel good.
So describe your day to me.
I am modeling. So when I come in and I'm doing a photo shoot, I come in at 8 o'clock in the morning, and we all congregate in the hallway, and we're all friends at this point. So, you never know what makeup artist or hairstylist you're going to work with, and it's fun because everyone's friends, and so you always get to see old friends every time. And then we just sit in hair and makeup, and everyone just kind of unloads. It's where we all talk about everything that we're going through and how our days are, and then when we're shooting here, it's fun and light. There's no pressure. It doesn't feel stressful here, so we just have a good time.
Do you want to tell her about the ambassador program?
Yeah, and then I started this year. Paul asked me to help out some models who were going through some depression and some stress because of COVID, and because we have such friendships here, we're also open about what we're going through, and like I'm very open in general. I like to talk about what I've gone through as a model, and I've experienced a lot of weird stuff in this industry and risen above it and been able to carry on and keep working. And so Paul asked me to come in and just kind of be there and mentor and give my advice that I have that's just from my experience and not really from anything else, like not like a legal perspective or anything like that, more of like a friend, and a big sister, and just kind of be here and talk about how everyone is feeling and what they're going through, and give them a place to talk about what they're going through, because it's hard being in this industry. I think if you don't work in this industry, like you have friends and you're a model and your friends work at a restaurant, they don't understand what you go through every day, and it sounds menial to other people. It sounds stupid to be stressed out about your size or how your skin looks or if your hair's messed up, or it sounds stupid to other people, but like it's not for us. It's a part of our job, and like so I'm trying to just offer a place where we can all have a community and have each other's backs and just kind of be there for each other and develop more friendships, so that it's hard to be a woman in general. It's really hard to be a woman in this industry, and I think like having a community where we can all be together and have each other's backs will change everything for everyone. So that's what we've been working on lately. Yeah.
Do you guys kind of follow the standards of age, 18 to 24, or?
No.
She's 32.
Well, I'm giving her the opportunity to state her case.
Yeah, no, but I guess I feel like it's interesting because I started modeling when I was 13 and now I'm 32. And there are girls here that were born the year that I started modeling. And they're 18 and 19 and it makes me feel crazy. And then I look around and I'm like, this is amazing because we're all in the same place and none of us feel competitive with each other. And so there's like me who's 32, and then there's Rachel, who's 35, and she has a 13-year-old daughter, and she's still here, and she's still seen as beautiful. And I think that that's what Guess does, is like, it's every woman. It's not just what the hot young girl looks like today. It's who you're going to transform into. Like, that hot young girl is going to grow up and be a smart, beautiful woman, you know, with confidence. And like, I think Guess allows that to happen internally, like with models and everything, but also in advertising and everything, where it's not just the teenagers and the young, you know what I mean? It's not about what's hot and what's fresh. It's like what's real and like what we see every day as human beings.
Do you see a difference in the world that you're in and what every other model out there is kind of thinking what modeling is about? Because there's a huge difference in mindsets of what the world that you live in and what other models live in.
Oh, yeah.
Big disconnect.
Well, modeling it's relative, you know, and when I started modeling when I was young, they wanted really skinny girls. They didn't want bodies. They didn't want you to have a butt. They didn't want you to have boobs. They wanted you to be under 23. They wanted you to be 5'9" minimum, you know, and that's more trying to be like an editorial model. That's more trying to be on the cover of Vogue and on the, I mean, back then models were on the cover of magazines, and now it's celebrities. So like, you know, the shift in like what this industry is, how it's changed, that's a big thing. But what we do here, commercial modeling, is very different from editorial modeling. And I've been on both ends of it, and I prefer the commercial side because it's real, because it's more inclusive and, you know, more accepting, and I think it actually builds more positivity, where I think the editorial modeling is beautiful and it's inspiring and it's works of art, but it's a lot more competitive, and I think you have to be younger and you definitely have to be smaller, and I think that there's a lot of pressure in either direction. There's just pressure in general, I think, to be a beautiful woman. There's pressure on what people have imagined their standards of you to be, you know, and commercial modeling, like someplace like this where you can smile and you can eat and you can enjoy your day, and it's not so much regimented about like if you gain an inch or you lose an inch, like that could be detrimental to your career. So I think we all have a different experience in the modeling industry, where you grew up, what you've been through, your own insecurities definitely are a big aspect of it, and then what avenue you choose. You know, it's like acting. Like, do you want to be a Golden Globe Academy Award winning actor who does really intense work and is like crying and losing weight and like, you know, gaining weight and losing weight and gaining weight and losing weight? Or do you want to be a comedic actor where you're just yourself and you get to be funny and you don't have all that kind of pressure? You know, there's two different things, and I think that kind of plays into this industry as well.
So Velma, tell her a little bit about what you do as a model.
I've been in the business for over 20 years. I'm 42 now, but a lot of my life was spent as an addict. So, I mean, I was signed with 4 models in my like mid-20s. I went to New York, I worked shows, and then I started using more and more. My son is 22 years old now, but I lost everything to my addiction. My mother was killed in a plane crash. She was my biggest supporter, my biggest cheerleader. My son dropped out of school, lost everything. I was nearly dead 5 years ago. I'm 5'10", I was 90 pounds when I met him. He's been a photographer for almost 40 years, so I reached out to him to attend one of his retreats that he does. He brings designer clothes, and he brings like 10 to 20 women at a time, and they all dress up and play for the weekend, have a chef, have masseuses, and just have a wonderful time. We don't try to appeal to models because models in our network, they cannot afford the services that we provide. We provide the women's retreats. So that's what I do now, but I got clean 5 years ago when I met him. He helped me find support, and I'm living again. I would have been dead for sure if I didn't meet him. And now I'm just happy to be alive. And that's what, when I reached out to Paul a few months ago, it was hard to get a response from him initially, but then he responded, and then I shared my story a little bit, and he's like, wow, why don't you come with your husband and meet me? And first he said, come to Switzerland. I'm like, okay, we'll go. And then I said, let me find out the restrictions. He goes, where are you guys? I said, United States. He goes, well, then come on the 28th. Yesterday, and then we got switched to today, but that's why we're here. So living my dream, every day waking up and just, I used to cry in the morning when I wake up because I woke up. I was so miserable, and now I'm just happy.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Fishy life.
Yeah.
And when I met her, I had no idea or any knowledge of an addiction. All I've seen is the movies and, the homeless person, having withdrawals. That's all I knew. And then when she walked into my world, I was like, well, this doesn't make sense.
Right. How are you functioning?
How are you functioning? What is this about? And in day 2, she went into withdrawals, and we had the paramedics and the police come in and took her away. So I had no clue what that was. So what happened is that I was working for a magazine in Savannah, Georgia, and the owner of the magazine, I told him I had to postpone a shoot because I had someone with some issues that I needed to take care of. And he pointed me in the right direction. I started interviewing addiction clinics, to find out why I'm so lacking on information. And every clinic that we visited kind of gave us the same information. Fall in love with yourself, get out of that environment. So we started looking at her issues and what started the addiction. And it was all about, self-esteem issues. In my business, the most beautiful women sometimes have the most issues, So we put her face on the legs so she does not have to ask others for permission. She's giving herself permission. That was 4.5 years ago. And it turned into a really good business for us. We do this for Sony. We do this for Dick's Sporting Goods and a bunch of big companies. And we turned her addiction into a positive for her. So that was kind of the story that she told, Paul, that he said, oh yeah, come by. And so we're here.
It's amazing. Yeah, I've seen a lot of addiction in my life too. Not myself, but I have a lot of friends and family. And being in this industry, I've seen a lot of addiction and really low self-esteem. And I think that that's part of what we're trying to do is build up the self-esteem so that we don't have issues, so that we don't have if we're put in compromising positions, that we can love ourselves enough to make the right decision in that position. You know what I mean? And be it drugs or alcohol or sex or anything. Really just being able to make that decision because you love yourself and not feel like you owe anything to anybody else, or not feel like anyone can take anything away from you because you have it internally, and so I think that that's beautiful what you're doing, because that's aligns with what we're trying to do too.
Out of all the experiences that you've had, what has been your most positive and memorable one?
In the industry?
Yeah.
When I was younger, I went to Paris when I was 16, and I've always had a bigger bottom size, bigger in this industry standard of high fashion industry, and they wanted me to lose all this weight, and they put me on these diets, and they had my agent watching everything that I did. They weighed out my food. They were on top of everything that I did, and I was so depressed. And something happened to me when I was there, and so I just decided to go home, and I never wanted to travel ever again. I was terrified of traveling. I was terrified of experiencing the world again. And I went on my first guest trip. We went to Barcelona, and I was petrified because I walked in and there's all these like European models who, in my head, I'm like, they're real models. Like, I don't know why I think it because I'm from California, I'm not a real model, but I see them and I'm like, they're like stunning. They're like 6 foot. Oh my gosh. I'm so insecure and like just terrified. And I had met one of the girls, Senya. She's from Russia.
I think so. Yeah.
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 And she's right there, that blonde. And, yeah. And she's so sweet and she's so positive. And I had met her in LA and I saw her in the hotel and I just was nervous and I just like said hi kind of and she was like, please come sit with us. And like I was made fun of in high school. I was never popular. I never really had like a big group of friends. And she was so nice and so welcoming and then all the other girls were so nice and it just like blew my mind that they were so kind and like didn't even know me. And after that, like I've gone on so many trips with guests and like
You're gonna be emotional.
I am getting emotional. I feel like that connection, you know, like that was a really big experience for me because that was so hard. For me, I was like, ooh, girls are scary. They're so scary, and especially in this industry, it's so competitive, and just being a woman is competitive. So it was like, oh my God, like these girls are so nice and they're so warm. And then after that, I was like, oh my God, I can do anything. And like I've gone all over the world with them, and that was life-changing for me.
So that life-changing experience that you met there over in was it Barcelona? How did you explain that? How did you translate that to people who have never experienced that before? That had to be a very difficult task.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I explain it as like being bullied in school. Like you feel like you're not going to be good enough, and so you're constantly like, you're insecure and you're worried, and you're just, I have social anxiety every time I go anywhere, anytime I'm going to meet someone, and especially like women, beautiful women, I'm like, oh God, like, please don't let them be mean to me. Because I really try and be as nice as I possibly can when I meet someone, and that was just like a warm hug from someone that I had never really had anything, never really met, and these people just accepted me because I was there and I was a part of their group, and they didn't even know me, and they just like welcomed me with open arms, and that allowed me to feel like confident in myself and comfortable in myself and more comfortable to travel and like comfortable to be alone in other places, and it just opened up all these little tiny doors that I didn't understand it would by just being accepted.
So you were there and then you came back with this newfound hug.
Mm-hmm.
Your best friend here, were you able to explain that to them? Were they able to understand what you were talking about?
Yes, because I'm clearly very vocal, and my best friend has been my friend since high school, and so her and I have gone through a lot together, and she's seen how hard it is to be in this industry, and you know, like I think in our job you're told like you're replaceable. You know, you're told that like, well, there's going to be an 18-year-old version of you like popping onto the scene tomorrow. Like every single day there's a new girl who wants to be a model. Like, why are you so important? And she's seen me go through all of that, and when I started like developing relationships with women, like friendships, I had never really had friendships with other models, and like Guess is the place where I started developing friendships with other models that I had never had that experience. And she was so excited for me because she's like, now you're starting to see the world like I see the world. Because she's like, you know, she worked at Chipotle. She was like normal, if that's what you want to call it. And she was like, you're seeing the world like I do. You're seeing like less judgment, and you're understanding that like, we're all just in this world trying to figure it out. And if we're all just nice to each other, how much easier everything is, and opens all these doors. So yeah, she figured it out. She understood. And like my friends, because I am so vocal, they understand everything that I'm going through to, you know, as much of a degree as they can.
That's very powerful. That's, you know, the thing that, you know, you remember the most, because a lot of people aren't lucky enough to be able to have that experience. And I don't believe, women are their most, the worst critics. They beat themselves up so much, and they tell themselves that, they don't sell themselves to themselves well. They don't give themselves enough credit. And for you, so do you find yourself trying to give that to other women nowadays?
Yes, 100%. I mean, that's part of this mentoring is that I always felt alone in this industry, and it wasn't really until that moment and until I started developing friendships within this company. It wasn't until that I understood I needed to also reach out and do that for other people. And I've always been that way with my friends and with my family, and with anyone who comes into my life. Like I'm always positive, and I try my hardest not to pass judgment on myself, but you do. And after that experience, and after being here and meeting more and more people and developing more friendships, I had never had friendships with women, and so it just made me want to give that same experience to other people, because you just physically see what you see. And
then you
our
build
job
your own
is a stereotype.
then you build your own story,
Yeah.
your own script there. So wow. So would you say that a lot of women come here that you meet still have that what you had when you were 16, that I'm not good enough? Do you see that a lot?
I think that a lot of women in general just have that. Yeah. And I think just models in general have that because you're pitted against other girls on the daily.
Very competitive.
Yeah, I mean, you go to a casting and you walk into a room and it's like, oh, cool, here's 75 people who look just like me. And they're going to pick one. They're going to pick one.
Why do they pick that one? Is it the look or is it something else?
It's everything. It's everything. It's all put together. It's, it's your moment, your timing, what they want, all of that stuff. So.
Good. You have any questions?
No, I want to start before.
I think this is it. We're done. No. Thank you. Have any questions for us?
No, it's so nice to meet you.
Thank you for taking the time.
Yeah, thank you for telling me your
She
story.
said she'll ask the permission first. She'll see if you're gonna do it. So
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
And do you have a huge Instagram following, or you don't have an account?
I do have an Instagram account. It's not huge. I have 130,000 followers. Me too. Yeah.
You mind giving it?
Oh yeah, it's sorry. It's ITS. So it's Sion Xian Nicole MIKOL.
Sion. Is that French? Chinese.
Yeah.
So what languages do you speak besides your own?
English. I don't speak any other language.
Come on now.
No, I spoke a little bit of French when I was younger, and then a little bit of Spanish, but that's it.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Of course.